Good morning. Happy Mother's Day to you on this beautiful and sometimes complicated day. I'm Carmen Barsotti, and I'm going to be the worship associate and a little bit of the glue between many parts today in today's service. And so we have up here Louise. And let me see, I don't want to miss anybody. So part of the service is we have Judith Stoddard and Nancy Munn, who are up in the choir loft. And then we have Louise and Kathleen and Dolores, who was the brainchild behind this service. So we thank Dolores for doing that. So we would love to recognize those mothers who are in the pews this morning, and also those joining us on live stream. And being Unitarian Universalist and being human beings, we also want to draw the circle wider and acknowledge all the people who mother, who parent the world, who have been a nurturing force and a steady presence in the lives of many people, of children that were not part of their nuclear family. The world is held together and healed and made whole generation after generation by people who step in that role of mothering as wide as their arms and hearts can reach. So we bow this morning and say our gratitude to all of you, to that gift which we can give and do in this world. And on this Mother's Day, we thought it would be inspirational to hear about an extraordinary woman of the Middle Ages. An unusual choice, but we thought a fun one. The person we picked was an extraordinary thinker, writer, poet, and composer. Mother to the women in the convents she founded, Hildegard of Bingen also would nurture minds and spirits for generations to come. We are so pleased that Mark Sumner, Reiko Delane, and our wonderful choir will be performing the music of Hildegard of Bingen today, featuring primarily modern arrangements inspired by the music she wrote over 850 years ago. Members of our church will also speak about Hildegard's many other accomplishments. We think you'll find in Hildegard of Bingen someone whose writing reveal a unique blend of spiritual and worldly connections on the human condition and its relationship to the earth, far ahead of its time. Welcome, everyone. Happy Mother's Day, and in the most intimate and largest sense of the invitation, we give thanks. So please join me in the chalice lighting. Dolores. Can be found in your order of service. And so we say, we light this chalice for the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the fire of commitment. We light this symbol of our faith as we gather together. So please join in singing hymn number 27, I Am That Great and Fiery Force.
Good morning. My name is Lucy Smith, and I'm a member of your Board of Trustees. I'll take this opportunity to remind you that members of the Society are invited to speak and give feedback at the beginning of board meetings, which are held on the third Tuesday of every month at 6:30 in the Fireside Room. Excuse me. If this is your first time with us in person or watching on live stream, sorry, thanks for joining us. If you would like to receive a copy of our weekly email newsletter, The Flame, which includes links to the order of service and the Sunday live stream, you can fill out one of our yellow connections forms. These forms are on the welcome table outside the sanctuary, perhaps in a pew in front of you, and available through a link in the order of service or video description of today's service. The order of service lists upcoming events and links to opportunities to engage. Please engage in any or all that pique your interest. Two meetings of particular interest and importance to us all are the budget meeting next week and the annual meeting June 2nd. Next week, May 19th, we will vote on next year's budget. 2 weeks later, the annual congregational meeting will take place, at which we will elect board members. Both meetings will be in the King Rooms following the service. Members will also be able to attend both meetings on Zoom, and next week is Beta Breakers, so feel free to take that opportunity. This is about the future of our church. Plan to be there, she said, channeling your mother. Now Mark Sumner has a few words for us.
Good morning. Good morning. It's the little things you do together, that makes perfect community. And since Beta Breakers and the All Church Retreat weekends are coming up, I wanted to draw your attention to what I just discovered is an incomplete announcement in your order of service. June is indeed busting out all over with our concerted effort to nurture community through the arts, in particular, this new Star King Way performance series. You see here in small our new banner, but it exists in large out in the gallery today for the first of many times to come. I won't read to you what's already here in the order of service, but I'll give you this moment to do that and see that the QR code, which is here as well as on the banner, will always take you to more information about these and many things ahead. Amid the excitement of all these offerings, I failed to mention that a group of us is going to see the musical that in 1970 changed me for hopefully mostly good, Stephen Sondheim's Company, showing soon at the Orpheum Theater. So far, 37 of us are going as a group Thursday night, June 13th, and there are good seats left for more. By now, you know where and how to find me. If this or any Squips event perks your interest, let us know. We would also love to see any and all of you at any or all of these events. I also want to welcome Yui Azawa Kambadi to the service today. She has the perfect voice for the music that we are sharing with you, and I'm thrilled she was able to join us. And also my personal shout out to Dolores Halbrin for making today's, oh, what a beautiful morning, service happen. Thank you.
That's it for announcements today. And now let's take a moment to greet one another. If you're on live stream, please introduce yourself on the chat. If you need an icebreaker, ask someone about their favorite Mother's Day gift ever, given or received.
say who we are?
What?
Should we say who
No.
we are? Okay.
Well, good morning, UU. This was so exciting, we couldn't just let it pass, so we're adding one more announcement to the agenda this morning. Sherry, what can you tell us about the annual pledge canvas?
Well, we have great news this morning. Only 11 pledges are outstanding. And the total amount pledged is close enough that we can now vote next Sunday on the 2024-25 budget without making any cuts.
Wow, Sherry, you know what that means?
Yes. Where's Mark? Next year's Big Music Sunday will be big.
Our forums will be formulating.
And our flowers will be real and flowery.
And our special interest groups will be, well, interesting. We want to thank you, faithful pledgers, who proved you got a friend in we.
And a special thanks to Reverend Vanessa and the Stewardship Committee for reaching out to members who needed a gentle reminder to turn in their pledges. And a big thanks to you visitors who come in person and in Zoom land who have not joined but still pledged your financial support.
From the beginning of the campaign, we felt it would take absolutely everyone banding together to hit the full $750,000 goal. But now we are down to the last few pledges, and we see how literally true that is. Once these pledges come in, we should, and I'm sure will, hit the full $750,000. So congratulations to you. Thank you.
Good morning again. Here is a story for all ages. Life in the Convent. I first have heard of Hildegard when I was 8 years old, when my younger sister and I were sent to a Catholic boarding school in northern Wisconsin. I found myself thrust into a harsh new reality. Now I remember that part of my life as a shock to my system. The discipline was new to me, having been raised by very loving grandparents and pampered beyond measure. Convent life meant being silent for long periods and obeying very strict rules. At first, I sometimes cried myself to sleep. Along with the regular school subjects, we were taught how to knit, how to darn socks, scrub floors, and polish long parquet floors leading to the chapel. But we were also taught Latin and Gregorian chant, which we sang at daily Mass at 6 a.m. Since both of my parents were accomplished musicians, I was very familiar with classical music, but this music was completely new to me. I became enchanted with the monophonic sounds of Hildegard's music. Monophonic means one unaccompanied melody line without harmony. The music was austere, simple but powerful, and yet to me it was magical. I listened for this music and I was swept away, and the sad feelings about my unhappy reality left. This experience was an important early life insight that music transported me into another world of warmth and hope. This new awareness invigorated me in ways I still cannot explain. Later, as an adult, I lived for 6 years in the Rhineland in Germany, near Bingen, as a matter of fact, and I learned more about Hildegard's life. Although I am an atheist, I have always been impressed by the life and the ideas of this deeply religious woman, especially regarding the beauty and power of nature and the role of humankind in preserving it. I hope you will enjoy the music and stories of this talented and inspiring woman, Hildegard of Bingen, whose life we celebrate today. Here are 2 pieces of music in their original monophony, so you get a taste of what I fell in love with and that helped me feel less sad all those many years ago.
So this morning I'm going to add a word to our covenant. Forgive me if that's sacrilegious, but I think today we should say love and music is the spirit of this church. So let's say that together. Love and spirit are the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another.
So, who is this Hildegard? Hildegard lived from 1098 to 1179, during the period called the Dark Ages, 400 years before Galileo discovered the basic scientific facts of our Earth's physical existence in the universe. She was a Benedictine abbess who founded her second abbey at Bingen on the Rhine River. The nuns at her first convent in Disse-Bodenberg had elected her at the age of 39 to be their leader as Magistra, Mother Superior. She was an incredibly gifted woman, a polymath, meaning a person of great abilities who achieves excellence in several areas of knowledge. She authored numerous literary and religious works. She was an herbalist, medical practitioner, naturalist, philosopher, theologian, and mystic, and finally recorded the strange, religiously inspired visions she had experienced throughout her life. In fact, in Germany, Hildegard von Bingen is considered the founder of scientific natural history. Recently, scholars have been re-examining everything Hildegard wrote: her personality, her vast quantity of work, and her influence in many specialties. And as we have heard today, perhaps her most profound talent was in the composition of sacred music. Hildegard, as shown in her writings and the historical records of her social interactions, was a liberated, outspoken, and forceful religious woman. About 400 of her letters survive, letters to humble folk who asked her for cures for infertility, for example, and letters to her superiors, popes, and kings on religious and governance matters. Her writing reveals an unusual range of attitudes, from seeking or giving advice on religious things to being cleverly self-serving or even audacious. For example, here's an excerpt from a letter she wrote in 1153 to King Frederick, soon to become Emperor Barbarossa of the Holy Roman Empire. Quote, "In a mystic vision, I see you like a little boy or some madman. Beware, therefore, that the Almighty King does not lay you low, because of the blindness of your eyes, which fail to see correctly how to hold the rod of proper governance in your hand. See to it that you do not act in such a way that you lose the grace of God." Unquote. This effort could have gone badly for Hildegard, as she was living under the secular rule of Frederick. But the king invited her to his court to make prophecies, and later wrote to let her know that they had all come true.
This reflection addresses Hildegard of Bingen in relation to illness and healing. Hildegard of Bingen medicine and the medicine of her time was practiced within a monastic community, and her reputation for her expertise in medicine was established not in her lifetime, but after her death. It was documented that she was familiar with scientific and medical theory as well as secular healing practices. Hildegard's approach to to disease treatment was with a blend of practical wisdom, spiritual insight, and herbal remedies. Excuse me. She used herbs and plants extensively for healing. She believed that God provided these natural substances for the well-being of humanity. Some of the herbs she used included fennel, lavender, sage, and chamomile. They were used in various forms, such as teas, tinctures, and poultices. She emphasized the interconnectedness of the body, mind, and spirit through practices of holistic healing, and believed that physical ailments often had spiritual or emotional roots. Her treatments aimed to address both the physical symptoms and the underlying spiritual disharmony. She also incorporated precious stones into her healing practices. For instance, she used emeralds for its supposed ability to balance emotions and promote overall well-being. Regarding her approach to diet and lifestyle, she advocated for a balanced diet and moderation in all things. She believed that food played a crucial role in maintaining health and encouraged fasting, consuming fresh foods, and avoiding excesses. Hildegard composed music that she believed had healing properties. She saw music and vibration as a way to restore balance and harmony within the body. Her holistic approach also included prayer, meditation, and spiritual practices that aligned oneself with divine energy and facilitated healing. Hildegard elaborated on the medical and scientific relationship between the human microcosm and the macrocosm of the universe, focusing on the interrelated patterns of the four elements, that being fire, air, water, and earth, of the four seasons, of the four zones of earth, polar, temperate, dry, and tropical, and of the four major winds, that being the eastern taking in the air, western air winds mixing with clouds, southern fire, and the northern winds holds the frost outside. The healing philosophy of Hildegard is addressed in a book titled Slow Medicine, written by Victoria Slow, a geriatrician who worked at Laguna Honda Hospital while completing her master's and her PhD work on Hildegard of Bingen, medicine and philosophy. She opened the Echo Medicine Project at Laguna Honda on a long-term care unit, embracing Hildegard's philosophy of the body as a garden and the healing power of nature and the importance of healing through touch versus the flawed American healthcare approach with its algorithms, requirements, regulations, and mandates. She wrote about this in a book titled God's Hotel, which we have in the book corner here in the King Room. Followers and students of Hildegard have stated, technologies are not the enemy. We can use them while incorporating simple, natural practices derived from ancient techniques and natural substances without demonizing modern medicine or romanticizing past practices. So it's a little treat. I put on the table in the back a recipe by Hildegard for antidepressant cookies.
I'd like to now invite you into a space of prayer and meditation. Settle in. Breathe. Hildegard von Bingen wrote many words, including words of prayer, that used a big, wide-open set of images of the God to whom she and we might speak. In that spirit of reaching out to the large, unknowable presence of the holy, we'd like to invite a communion between you who share the words of this prayer. Fire of the Spirit, life of the lives of creatures, spiral of sanctity, bond of all natures, glow of charity, lights of clarity, taste of sweetness to the fallen, be with us and hear us. Composer of all things, joy in the glory, strong honor, be with us and hear us. Amen.
I have been a literal tree hugger. I've written odes to leaves, and at one time, when I used to be able to get my children to school and then head to Golden Gate Park for some trail running, I thought that my objectives were exercise and health, but even more vital, I soon discovered, was the rejuvenation of spirit that came from frequent immersion in a green and growing environment. These are some of the reasons that I resonate with Hildegard's concept of viriditas, a Latin word that translates literally to something like greening, with connotations of freshness and vitality. She wasn't the first writer to use the term in a theologic context, but it was never in common usage, whereas it appears repeatedly in Hildegard's works, whether they're spiritual, poetic, botanical, medicinal. Her viriditas arises in many contexts. It is what drives plants to grow and flourish, that which brings health of both body and soul to humans, the creative force which underlies the existence and history of the world. Hildegard's work as a gardener may have contributed to her attraction to the word. Like Dolores, she was just 8 years old when she left home for a religious education. In the care of her older cousin, Jutta, her first teacher and mentor throughout her youth, among her earliest lessons were in identifying, caring for, and making curative use of plants. One of the essential functions of a monastery was to be a place of refuge and healing, not only for the residents, but for others from the surrounding area. While Hildegard lived between stone walls, she nonetheless remained part of and inspired by the verdant world, by viriditas. And metaphor and imagery came naturally to her. Jutta was revered as a mystic, and so would Hildegard be once she dared reveal to others the visions she had experienced since earliest childhood. Strange and vivid scenes observed not, she explained, with her outer physical eyes, but with the eyes of her soul. Her first book recorded 26 of them, both in words and paintings. They were framed in a medieval Christian account of the human relationship to the divine, and some of the images you've seen are from that book. For me, Hildegard's use of viriditas can shimmer with a mystic ecstasy. It occurs again in the next song, and I hope this recent translation, as well as the music, may move you as well. Most noble evergreen, with your roots in the sun, you shine in the cloudless sky of a sphere no earthly eminence can grasp, enfolded in the clasp of ministries divine. You blush like the dawn, you burn like a flame of the sun.
When I moved to San Francisco in 2006, the first singing work I was offered was with San Francisco Renaissance Voices, which led to a performance of Hildegard's Ordo Virtutum, a sacred music drama for 18 solo female voices comprising of the soul and 17 virtues. The last solo role, the devil, is a male voice, but he is not allowed to sing. He only yells or grunts, as according to Hildegard, the devil cannot produce divine harmony. I love this idea so much. That's theology that resounds with me. This was my first introduction to Hildegard's music and her life. Hildegard was never classically trained in composition. She was self-taught, although not in a way that many people would expect. Her whole life, Hildegard claimed to be both clairvoyant, able to see the future, and clairaudient, able to hear extraordinary voices which spoke of the future. The music came to her in trances, and that is how she was able to compose without any formal training. In addition to Ordo Virtutum, Hildegard composed over 70 liturgical pieces, one of the largest repertoire among medieval composers. Initially hesitant to speak of the voices and music she heard, it is amazing to think that everything her legacy is built upon, her writings and music, were not written down until after receiving a vision to do so at the age of 42. Hildegard has since been referenced the patron saint of late bloomers. Thank you, Mark Sumner, for that little detail. Hildegard believed that music had a direct correlation with an enhanced spiritual state. Music was used as a way to enlighten, bring joy and positivity to the soul. It was a type of meditation which produced relaxation. The manner in which this was practiced highly resembles the way Buddhist meditation techniques are performed. Up until the end of his life in 2015, the neurologist Oliver Sacks was researching Hildegard's 12th century belief that music can bring a whole brain connection between the two hemispheres to heal and calm the body. Hildegard's music and words are extraordinary, and I know you've heard that word over and over today, but truly she is extraordinary for any composer in any time. But she inspires me because she was a woman living in a time when few composers, much less women, were given credit for their work. And yet, we know who she was today. That's amazing. Her life was devoted to service and her faith, and that is reflected in her music and words. The final verses of Ordo Virtutum ask the audience to bend their knees so that God may stretch out his hand to you. The final word, porigat, which means stretch out, is set to 39 notes, the longest melisma in the play. It is meant to illustrate the stretch of a divine hand toward humanity. And again, that's theology that I can get behind.
So now is the time for the offering. The offering today goes to support the work of the United Nations Relief and Work Agency, which was established in 1949 by a UN General Assembly to help Palestinians who were displaced from their homes after the founding of Israel. Today, UNRWA employs 30,000 Palestinians to serve the humanitarian needs of refugees in the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, and other camps. For the past 6 months, because of continued airstrikes and total devastation in the Gaza Strip, over 34,000 people, including over 14,000 children, have been killed, and many are missing. The people now face mass starvation and the imminent risk of famine. The UNRWA USA calls for an immediate ceasefire to ensure the safety of civilians and unimpeded access to humanitarian resources. You can learn more about this on their webpage of unrwa.org. To make a donation on Vanco, using the donate button on our website or by scanning the QR code below it. Please select the line for either Sunday plate offering or special Sunday offerings. The designation is important to ensure your gift gets applied correctly. If you are sending a check, please mark into the memo today's date. So please be generous and enjoy the music as the offering is taken.
Sapientia I first learned about Hildegard of Bingen when I was a college student in the 1970s, but I didn't meet her in a class. Instead, I became acquainted with Hildegard as part of Judy Chicago's 1979 art installation, The Dinner Party, at the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. This ambitious, groundbreaking work included exquisite table settings for 39 women in history. Chicago and her team created an elaborate triangular table. Each of the 3 wings of the table featured uniquely designed place settings for 13 women. The first was the primordial goddess. The last was Georgia O'Keeffe. Hildegard's place setting is based on the structure of a Gothic cathedral, and her plate is painted as a rose window, the central stained glass window in any cathedral, often considered the spiritual center of the church. I will forever associate Hildegard primarily with the beauty of women's creativity and spirituality. Hildegard has captured the imagination of so many scholars, painters, poets, playwrights, novelists, filmmakers, and musicians. This morning, we've heard a sampling of her glorious sacred music. As a writer, public speaker, and poet, Hildegard transcended bans and barriers to women expressing ideas publicly. And as we've heard, she was particularly prolific in the second half of her long life. At 42, she began work on a book of theology, Scivias, which prompted close scrutiny by the Pope. Hildegard frequently compared herself to a feather, which floats on the air not because of any power of its own, but because it's upheld by a power outside itself. This assertion she made of receiving a divine command to write convinced the Pope to approve and sanction her work, solidifying her place as a seer and a prophet within the Catholic Church. In addition to hundreds of letters and sacred texts with music, Hildegard eventually wrote 3 books on theology, 2 books on medicine and herbology, and in the 1160s, she traveled throughout Germany, preaching both in monasteries and in public settings to denounce clerical corruption and call for widespread reform. Dare we call her an activist? When Dolores invited me to participate in today's service, I turned to Jane Hirschfield's beautiful 1994 anthology, Women in Praise of the Sacred, 43 Centuries of Spiritual Poetry by Women. And I was reminded immediately of the legacy and connection that Hildegard has on contemplative poetry, even in our time. Like Hildegard, we poets in the 21st century aim to deepen our wisdom, revere nature, and do all we can to nourish humanity and peace in a complex world. It's something that is everywhere in Hildegard's work. I'd like to end with her poem, O Ignis Spiritus Paracliti, which speaks across the centuries of the spirit or the life force within us all. O fire of the spirit and defender, the life of every life created, holy are you, giving life to every form. Holy are you, anointing the critically broken. Holy are you, cleansing the festering wounds. O breath of holiness, O fire of love, O taste so sweet within the breast that floods the heart with virtue's fragrant good. O clearest fountain in which is seen the mirrored work of God, to gather the estranged and seek again the lost. O mighty course that runs within and through the all, up in the heights, upon the earth, and in the every depth, you bind and gather all together. From you the clouds flow forth, the wind takes flight, the stones their moisture hold, the waters rivers spring, and earth viridity exudes. You are the teacher of the truly learned, whose joy you grant through wisdom's inspiration. And so may you be praised, who are the sound of praise, the joy of life, the hope and potent honor, and the giver of the gifts of light.
Thank you, that was very moving. Here are some closing thoughts. I hope you enjoyed hearing about this extraordinary woman and all the ways she mothered the world, doing what mothers do, even in her unconventional role and ways, challenging, prodding, nurturing those around her, and trying to hold the world accountable for being better and wiser. And I especially hope we were reminded of our calling to bring our gifts to the world unapologetically, as Hildegard did, with aplomb and gutsiness at a time when it was quite difficult for a woman to do so. In conclusion, Hildegard, like us, lived in a perilous time of ongoing power struggles, often spilling into warfare, as we see every day. During her era, there were conflicts among secular rulers, between secular and religious authorities, between the European Crusaders and the Islamic forces which claimed much of the Middle East, and even within the church itself. Hers was a time of instability. So, therefore, it seems appropriate now to end our service with words that express her hopes and ours for our world. Dona nobis pacem, give us peace. We will sing it first in monophony and then layer it over and upon itself in a round. Mark will instruct us. Please rise in body and spirit as our singers lead us in hymn number 388.
So infused with that beautiful sound, and on this expansive and cosmic Mother's Day, may we be infused with music and kindled with the fire of love and become a burning and shining light in this world. May we be aflame with the spirit of love and discipline and walk as a people of light. And as we go forth, may love surround us, may joy gladden us, may peace lie deep within, and may our lives and the lives of all those we love go well. Blessed be.